actually people just playing really aggressive or going so hard the other way. I'm trying to look for those individual carry performances. LWX and Chocho maybe getting in the face of Betty and Sword Art. Xiaohao bringing us back to like when he first came into the league and he was this pretty like hyper-aggressive jungler constantly looking for invades. Pinzi had a really good series in AL's last outing, so hopefully we at least do get to see that. Like, hey, we're out, we still want to win. We're not going to troll picks and bans, but we are going to show maybe a bit more confidence in how we play the game than we typically would.
And that's something we have seen before in the FPL, right? When you get to the end of the season, you've got nothing to lose. Like, show everything you've got. Why would you be nervous coming into these games now when there is nothing on the line anymore? Xiao, living up to that aggression, going with the Vi for the early game, but it's answered with a Sejuani from Hacker. And you'd anticipate maybe the bottom lane, but with a Zeri, a Lucian, and Xayah banned away, I'm not even sure what the priority would be at this point. Maybe Ashe?
Yeah, another
Yone,
pick.
apparently.
I was going to say another pick that's also taken some nerfs on this patch, so be interested to see how that goes. But yeah, going to Yone instead of something like the Varus, which you would think is the highest priority AD carry left on the table. Yeah, true. Something that actually slipped through my mind because Aphelios has been something that has really risen in priority in recent weeks. It's something that Betty has also really liked to gravitate towards. LWX hasn't been playing it as much, but Rakan actually just going to be locked in right away.
I love that they banned Xayah and lock Rakan. That is full Sword Art energy right there. But going for the engaged support, wanting their way to kick off fights. Now offering that Aphelios. Do you have two champions that want to run at you so far in that Sejuani and the Yone? So Aphelios going to be locked in here for Betty.
Yeah, so as FPX, you could always go something like a Cassante here if you want and just try and get the ability to have like a really strong top side early on. But when they're already showing both their bot laners, I feel like it does make more sense to just wait when you are playing on red side and at least getting some value out of that counter pick somewhere. So now for FPX, we do get the Vygar coming out. LWX has already played this pick once, and I do expect it to go down towards that bot lane.
I love it. Absolutely. I was actually playing a little bit of Veigar bot last night alongside Dagda in the bottom lane.
You were. Yeah, I was there.
I was support, and I went with the wrong support item. It all was a little disastrous, but I did the most damage.
I was playing Leona top that game, if I remember correctly, because that was the game you kept. Yeah. So, point is, I'm sure LWX is going to do a much better job than you did last night. And now we're going to see
the most damage for the team.
Mid lane bans.
It was a top diff
coming out from FPX, and I guess what FPX want to look with going into their next. I mean, they're already just so sorted and so stacked on engage options coming through. Even the zone control coming out from that cage. It's going to make it incredibly hard, not only for Betty to walk up and find these angles, but even Sword Art potentially to try and come in on flanks, and having a lot of that self-heal there I feel like is important when you already know for LWX the rest of your team is going to be jumping away from you. So you definitely need some ability to protect yourself in these fights.
Yeah, I honestly, when you describe it that as an AD carry, Xayah is the pick. Xayah is like the golden grail of picks in that situation. It was bad. So no luck on that one. As support's going to be locked in next for FPX. Still space for flexibility, where the Yone could be up in that top side, and we end up with some wacky final pick coming out for FPX. We'll have to see, though, as Leona locked in for Chocho, one of the classic counters against Rakan.
Chocho has been someone who has been primarily still sticking to that engaged role. It actually is one of the reasons why Sword Art felt so confident in taking away the Rakan early on. If the Jax lock-in comes through, potentially opens up for like a Kennen pick or something for the other side, which maybe hypothetically you don't want when you do the Sejuani. You want to try and enable that passive even more. But we are going to get it's ZDZ's most played champion of the split so far. And now with two really good assassin bans toward the mid lane, which is where Pinzi has been a standout on. I wonder where they go here. This typically has been the other thing. Like the control mage that you put with a Vi usually is a Talia, has the ability to follow up. Vi also sets up for like a seismic shove very well. So wouldn't be too surprised if this is it.
Yep. Oh, could be the answer, but Vex comes through in the end. So again, very good sort of anti-dive, but then also very good at following up on the Rakan, following up on the Vi, and causing absolute chaos within a team. And it does look like you're right. It does look like this Veigar heading towards the bottom lane as a top laner locked in. It's going to be Cassante there for fairness.
So is going to go with the expected pick instead of trying to opt into a heavier lane counter, and again having some semblance of synergy with the jungle role. Also just having an incredibly strong 5v5 overall, very burst oriented. Might need some time to get some levels online for the side of FPX as well. To where AL, I love the Vex coming out, not the expected pick. This is something that can very easily follow up with the Vi. She goes for the ulti, you throw out your own, you follow through, and the burst is just there. So LWX especially could potentially have a rough time. I mean, because even if you have the cage to try and stop some of this from coming through, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop the Vial. You potentially wait out the cage. If X comes falling through, then LWX, he's just gone.
Yeah, he'll be out of there. He'll be absolutely taken off the board. We'll see if they can make that happen. We'll see if that coordination is there. I'm going to bring it full circle back to the conversation of coordination. That's what we want to see from the two teams. And I feel like we've got two compositions that really will show coordination. Like this dive composition, right? You really do need to be going in together. You need to be working as a unit to be able to pull a composition like this off. Kind of a similar story on the other side for FPX, where you do need to be setting up for LWX on that Veigar. Like if you leave him alone, if the cage alone is not going to save him.
Yeah, I think it still could work depending on how far ahead you get care. And the one thing I'll give FPX's comp is it actually is the one that thrives more from like chaotic skirmishes breaking out, right? Having the Yone, having the Cassante, things just breaking off into these little fights, a 2v2 here, 3v3 here on FPX should do fairly well because at least early to mid game, you're kind of looking at them of like, okay, where's the damage going to come from if it is just a straight up like, get a big 5v5 and you don't really have any DPS there until Yone gets a few items under his belt. So AL have a pretty good damage spread between not only burst and DPS, but also AD and AP. They have frontline options. They have plenty of CC. So definitely looking at FPX to be the one to, I'd say, have to problem solve this game and find a way to get some advantages so AL just can't do whatever they want.
See if FPX can find that level of control in the early game, if they can suffocate AL out, but who knows how this one's going to go. Honestly, two teams that have shown a lot of weaknesses across the course of the split, not necessarily having convincing, consistent strengths across the two rosters. So I feel like when you're watching these two teams, it's kind of fun in a way that I don't know who's going to pop off. Someone in these games is probably going to pop off, but it's really hard to predict which player that's going to be. And I'm here for it. I'm excited.
No, I think, especially now that it seems like there's something going on stage, this is where we should both predict which player will pop off.
ZDZ.
I'm going with Care. Care's got his hands on Yone. You got a Sejuani right next to you. You're going up against an immobile kind of control mage-esque, assassin-esque champion like Vex. Again, very easy to gank.
I've been mildly impressed by ZDZ over the last year or so.
Yeah, I agree. I think ZDZ has been one of the, not like an exceptional Santa who's like taking the league by storm.
But he's had some pretty good games.
Exactly. So,
and do you know what I like about ZDZ? Is that he's one of these players that is very willing to play carries, and when he does, he plays like a carry. But then he's also very willing to just play Sion or Cassante and just chill all game. Like, you quite often have top laners in the LPL, I won't mention any names, that only like to play one or two champions, like Gragas and Will Never Learn Gnar or whatever.
Wait, are you Karsa right now? Are you flaming the best top laner in the league?
Not really, but you know what I mean. There are a lot of top laners that are like, I am a tank player or I am a carry player and aren't flexible. I feel like ZDZ ticks the box of flexibility. He is willing to play what the team needs him to play, and he leans into that role when he does.
Yeah, had a very interesting champion pool this split. Jax being his most played, but followed up by Cassante and Sion. Has played the Rumble a few times, has played the Kennen, has even actually brought out things like the set. So definitely will be keeping your eyes on ZDZ. As Fearness, hasn't gotten to play all too many games. Again, just coming back into the starting lineup pretty recently, but overall has been mostly successful. So gonna see if Fearness can go toe-to-toe with ZDZ. As, we had a problem with the client. Ban pick getting remade. We'll be in shortly, and then we'll get to see if we get any of the Fiesta money.
Pizzazz.
The pizzazz.
Shenanigans.
The mojo.
I was going to say mojo. That was going to be my third
exactly.
thing. I was building up to it, the rule of threes.
But exactly, you built me up to it.
and you knocked it down in the park.
Oh.
It was like a, you know, at the end of a game of bowling,
Yeah.
you get a strike, you get another go.
Yeah.
Well, that was like 3 strikes.
Wait, but that's not just
3 strikes and you're out. Get out of here.
Wait, don't you get another? No. Don't you get another chance to go again if you get a strike at any point in bowling?
No.
Wait, really?
No. So a strike.
Oh, not a strike. I don't know. I don't bowl.
A strike just means you got all 10 pins down with your first throw in your turn.
Yeah.
But it's still the end of your turn.
Huh.
But then what happens is it adds your next turn's points to that previous turn as well. So let's say I get a strike in my first turn. That's 10 points.
Yeah.
If I then get a strike in my next turn, I believe I get 20 points for that first turn. And then I'm on 10 points for the second turn, with whatever I get in my third turn also going on.
Sounds pretty busted. Sounds
Yeah.
kind of overpowered. It just
And if you
get strikes.
if you get a spare, which is where you get all 10 pins down on your second bowl, then you get the first throw of your next turn added onto your score.
that also sounds pretty busted.
It is, unless you miss that shot or you only get 2 pins or something, and then you're like, well, why do I bother?
Yeah.
And then you just rage quit. Sit back down, mumble to yourself, drink half of your pint, and, you know, go look at the racks of bowling balls and try and find a better ball, because it was obviously the ball's fault. It couldn't possibly be
Which player in the LPL do you think would be the most cracked at bowling?
you. Ooh, it's a good question.
You know, my follow-up would be, do you think ping pong and bowling have any crossover? Because if so, then it is very clearly Meteor. But I don't know if there's much crossover
That's a reference and a half.
between ping pong and bowling.
For anyone who doesn't know, Meteor what was it, like National
Like youth.
University Challenge or
He was
something
like,
like
yeah,
that?
like youth ping pong champion or
Yeah.
something like that.
He's like genuinely a Chinese table tennis champion.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. That's absolutely... Because I don't know if you've seen Chinese table tennis. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is on another level.
It's actually very serious, too.
They're
It's,
like at other ends of the bloody room, just like annihilating the ball, and somehow it hits the table every time.
I feel like watching that happen, because I've actually seen it in person a few times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see it.
I feel like it just has the intensity of like some like old Western showdown, or like some kind of like intense anime staring. Like, what's going
They've
on?
got
It's
the
like,
paddle and a little holster, their fingers twitching over
it's like a
it.
little 12-year-old kid versus some 80-year-old man, and you would think they're both like, you know, mid-30s killers right here.
Oh, man.
Meteor being one of them.
So your guess is Meteor is the best bowler in the LPL.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Casa, because I feel like tall dudes are very good at bowling for some reason. Whenever I go bowling, it's never like the biggest, strongest dude. It's always like a fairly slim, tall person
What
that
about
just has
Ning,
a lot
then?
of leverage in their arms.
Ning's like the tallest guy in the LPL by a
True.
mile.
I bet Ning's a champion bowler.
Hey, we get to go into game now, so there you go. Bowling, table tennis.
You know who's the best bowler? Pins, because he's always knocking down the pins.
Shut up.
Woo!
You know what? We're going to game 1, AL versus FPX. We got a Vex on stage. I love Vex as a champion, so I'm excited to see what AL are able to do with this one. On the opposite side, though, I predict Care is going to pop off on this Yone, because Care's been showing some pretty solid performances in recent FPX games, and now we get it, this car thing on screen, which I still don't know if that's on screen for the English fans, but it's going to be time for the Gyos, Munch. I love the Gyos.
It's on screen for me. That's what matters.
Yeah, I agree. Also, no one sent us any pictures of jumpers just yet.
Have you checked?
I did.
I haven't looked at Twitter.
I just checked while we were in the break. I'm like, well, I guess I'll break the pause of, you know, do we have any jumpers to talk about? But we don't.
Did you search hashtag Big Jumper Day?
No.
Well, maybe people didn't hear us when we said it the first time, so just in case anyone did miss it, as you saw on camera, me and my friend Jordan here are both in very large jumpers, because it is hashtag Big Jumper Day here at the LPL. We want to see your big jumpers. Tweet us with the hashtag Big Jumper Day, and maybe your tweet will be featured on stream. Spoilers, it won't be, but maybe
We
in a
don't have
bizarre
that power.
twist of fate, your big jumper could be on stream. I sound like a morning radio host right now. rather than an
I was going to
LPL
say, you
caster.
normally do sound like a morning radio host, to be fair.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but anytime we play
I feel like that's an insult
anytime
somehow.
we play games together, people always ask, hey, are you a streamer?
That's true, but that's just because I've got a good microphone. All right. Lyric, we've got an engage at the bottom side. Sword Art straight off of the bat in with the Rakan. I will say, Sword Art, he's got a tasty Rakan. If you can think of champions Sword Art's decent with, Rakan's definitely in the list.
Definitely one of his more, I'd say, recent year pickups as compared to something he was known for even back in the day in the LMS. But gives him a lot of freedom to look at his engages, also do creative plays, find blanks. And even when I'll say I feel like Sword Art's individual skill in recent years has just kind of, you know, it's taken a hit. It has dropped off. He isn't the same player as he was back in the day. He's played for a long time, to be fair. One of Sword Art's even strengths going back to 2020 Sooning was his creativity, was his ability to find unexpected plays that the enemy teams wouldn't see coming, roaming on the map, which is something you can do when you're on the Rakan.
And one of the things that has been one of his weaknesses in the last few years has always been that over-aggression, being punished for it. If there's one thing Rakan is good at, it's being too aggressive and getting away with it. That champion is so good at just being so slippery and getting out of any situation.
I was talking to one of my friends who works on a coaching staff in the LPL, and I asked him, why do you keep putting your support on Rakan? This was back in 2020. And he said, Rakan's the best champion that if you have a support who wants to int, he won't be able to int.
That is an incredibly cynical answer, and I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Big trade in the mid lane, but Pins basically just looks at it, just stares him down, and pulls his shadow out of his soul. Don't care.
You know, I didn't want to reveal what team it was because I don't want that inting, but I was going to say there's also people can just go back and see playing Rakan back in the day, but we don't need to talk about that because ZDZ isn't going to go and mess with Hacker whatsoever. He cares more about going and making sure his wave is in a good place.
I respect that. That is how League of Legends works, so definitely on board for that. Hacker getting cheeky with it here. As he sneaks up to the top side, he's going to be able to dodge that ward. ZDZ, time to make my prediction come true because you're in a 2v1 on the top side. He has no idea that Hacker's here. Counter-Strike going to be used. Uses the Leap Strike to get out the flash from Hacker to follow it. And he's in all kinds of trouble. The flash is there, but the knockback to the first blood. The Phoenix.
Great wraparound coming out from Hacker, gets the Q over the wall, knows he's easily able to go for that gank, and ZDZ going down. At least still has TP to get back to lanes, since we are so early in the game, to make sure he doesn't really lose out on any of the CS coming through. But even other byproducts of this gank and this invade coming through for FPX, having some deep vision in AL's blue side jungle. It's also going to have a lot of information on where Xiao is. Might even set up for Hacker on another play if he wants to look towards spawn side before going for some of these camps.
Care is taking some punishment in this mid lane every time he walks up to NZ. Takes a huge hit. Let's take another look. I mean, really, really smart from Hacker. The pathing here. Obviously we saw it in the Scuttle Crab. ZDZ came down to try and mess with him, dropped that wall to Hacker, had full information.
And I mean, Ghost comes out, Flash to follow up to make sure they get the passive. And ZDZ, I thought, was doing a nice job of not committing the flash here. But with Hacker having the Q stacked up, just made it very easy for him to guarantee that they get a kill online. Xiao Hao.
Oh, Care's in trouble here. Oh no, he went up too early. The fear doesn't connect either. Care gets into the tower. The shield is there for Pinz. Flashing to finish the job. Hacker just a second too late.
And I mean, thank the universe that AL actually managed to get that one, because after Xiao Hao, I mean, like you said, queuing too early, having to commit that one, it looked like Care might have been able to escape, but it's a sliver of HP, and that would not have been ideal, as now setting Pinz up to potentially find a lead, being in the lead in CS, having the kill online. Yeah. If you can start getting this Vex roaming early alongside the Vi, that's where pretty much all of your pressure and your early to mid-game strength in this competition is going to come from.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Pinz, 2 stacks on a Dark Seal at 6 minutes in. It's looking like a solid start to things. I will say, Lyric, have you ever heard of the caster curse? Because I predicted ZDZ was going to pop off. You predicted Care was going to pop off. Both of them have died so far, and that's all that's happened in the game.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. But this is actually exactly where you want to be as Care on Yone. You got to start stacking
0-1.
You got to start stacking up the deaths. You give the enemy lane opponent a bit of confidence, and then you know when you all in them with your ult because they think they're stronger than you, like, oh my god, where'd all this sustain come from? Why does he do so much damage? And bam, Pinsy gets solo killed by Care. It's gonna happen.
I think you may be misunderstanding the situation. Your boy Pinsy, he doesn't miscalculate plays. He is the calculator. This man can bowl 13 strikes in a single game, every game. 60% of the time, he bowls them every time.
I'm not really that good at math, so I'm gonna trust your word that that's a lot of the time. Also, I'm interested to see where he goes build-wise. I would expect the Everfrost when you're up against like so many melee champions who really just want to run into you. The Luden's build being even not as common in general. It's definitely a lot more of a solo queue build, but a lot more about the assassination potential, which you have a lot of targets on the side of FPX that you aren't going to be able to just outright burst as Pinsy. Pretty much everyone except LWX.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to just burst people out. Bit of a CC chain onto Chocho there, but it's answered onto Betty. Although it does feel like LWX really not doing much damage just yet. It's an all-in in the mid lane. That's a double knockup with the ultimate, but Pinsy just fears Care. And he just can't finish the job off.
No, not having the damage there to be able to take it down quickly just yet. Xiaohao also being in the area really helped out because that could have been a kill, Pinsy not having flash. But now with both supports roaming over, we're looking at the Herald. FPX doing a nice job of realizing, hey, we have top prio, we can make our way over to this one first. So we need to keep our eyes out, especially on Fearness's ulti. That could be the game changer in this fight.
4v3 for the time being as ZDZ needs to get down here, but it's already gone. FPX getting themselves a Herald and perhaps getting a Sword Art off the back of it. He's knocked up and he will be taken down with the all-out Fearness. Here comes ZDZ though, Hacker low as well, but the CC chain onto Xiaohao, trying to do everything, but they're just being taken apart, and FPX walking away on a tiny bit of HP. ZDZ's not done. Perhaps he can find more with a stun onto Chocho. Looking for the leap strike here, but it's on cooldown. There it is. A bonus one for ZDZ. 2 kills on the board for the Jacks.
The reverse caster curse comes in clutch. ZDZ and Care now both sitting at 2 and 1. Still, ultimately, FPX, they come out suddenly ahead in the fight. They get the Rift Herald on the back of it, so going to be able to start breaking down these turrets. And a flood of indecisiveness coming out from AL. I mean, you see the Jack answering his wave. I'm not quite sure why they're leaning here for so long. And Sword doesn't even really have a chance to do anything. It's locked down for so long. Fearness able to take it down. But now the fear from Pinsy, making sure Hacker gets taken so low. And then with them wanting to commit on to the kill of the Vex, it really opens up for ZDZ to be able to run Chocho down. Sadly, Hacker being so low doesn't put him in a position where he's able to help his support survive.
Yeah, trying to get that knockup to deny the leap strike, but just a second too late on that one. It means Chocho goes down. So now, 2-1 on both superstar carries of Care and ZDZ. I love how both AD carries as well, 0-0-0. There's been quite a lot of fighting going on, but it's all been around that top side. Nobody making things happen in the bottom lane just yet.
I would say the big thing as well, even with both of them getting the kills online, ZDZ of course being in his Divine Sunder, this is Yone going for your tier 2 boots very early. So ZDZ take a lot of great trades in this matchup right now. Should be able to keep lane control for a decent amount of time. I still feel like AL are the ones who have a bit more agency in terms of making plays, having the Vi and Vex online. I'd love to see if Pinsy can start linking up, getting out of lane more, and start looking for these picks. But FPX is going to be about this 3-man core, playing around your Yone with your melee champions. So much engage online, and now it's going to be a lot about burning flashes, because everyone on AL has flashes up, so hypothetically you'd want to commit a pressure gank, try and get that one out for Pinsy, or looking for the replay later on.
Trying to see if they can shut him down. The personal space, so effective when they'll dive on him like that. Chocho going deep, looking for Pinsy to kick it off, and Sword Art with a double knockup. The Fears are in as well. It's a lot of damage onto Chocho, but he's not quite down yet. And Care in to answer. The health bar still going for Xiaohao. He flashes out to safety. And it's a 1-for-0. I don't know how, but it is.
I mean, at the same time, I'm actually surprised that FPX were even able to return, you know, the health trades so much, because they kind of just walked in to the members of AL, not connecting any engaged start that went up with, really giving Sword Art just a free 2-man knock-up, and now puts us in a position where Pinzy gets the back. Actually is going to go to Luden's build this time around. LWX, be okay?
Betty's in the baby cage, still forces the flash out. Nicely done there by Betty. Just catches LWX out of position. FPX in the meantime will get this Drake, but Betty feels like despite 4 people in this quadrant from FPX, he's still in control of this bottom lane and he ain't scared.
No, he doing a great job of maintaining pressure. Bloodthirster online for Betty, so we're gonna have a ton of sustain online. LWX, I mean, when I think of LWX, I think a lot more about the aggressive picks coming through. So, you know, being on the Veigar, a bit of a different look for him. Even if he has played it once his split, so maybe not the most comfortable, but willing to have that flexibility for the team.
I will say, it was a win, this split, when he played it. He currently has an infinite KDA because he did not die during that game. Fearness, though, managed to get 2 plates in that top side, charged the Herald in for a 3rd. That's a pretty nice little situation for the top laner on the side of FPX. 4th plate very, very low, but I don't know if he'll actually be able to finish that one off.
And we're at a point now where AL, I mean, 4 items completed on their side, so they'd be very happy if they can get a fight going pretty soon. We're going to have Riftherald come up in a minute and a half's time, so that might be your chance as AL potentially find a fight in your favor, get things going. But you would imagine FPX, you know, Care, Hacker should be pretty close to finishing those off. Maybe even just like Reset's going to come out in the next, you know, 40 seconds, get those online, and that's when you will be able to punish. But for FPX, I just want to see them not do what they did last time, which was kind of just walk into AL, set up for the easiest, like, hey, multiple members are clumped up, Sword Art finds, again, a multi-man engage. It just really gives a lot of room for Pinzy to dish out his damage in a very safe area. So for FPX, I mean, if they're the ones starting up the fight, getting on that back line, have a lot of confidence in what they can do, but if not, we've seen AL so far being the team with a very slight gold lead, but also having the items to back that up.
Yeah, it does feel like as well the CC chains from AL, if you do just walk into them like that, my goodness, you're never going to move again. You're never going to get to play the game. And if you're clumped up in a Belios is in that play, big Moonlight Vigil on everyone, it's over for you. The game is over at that point. So, like you say, we need to see FPX approaching these fights perhaps a little bit better. Still very even in gold though, and it's 2 Drakes to FPX so far. So, in the grand scheme of things, they'll be happy with this, with how this one's going. I feel like both teams scale reasonably well as well, so I feel like this is going to be one of those interesting games in League of Legends where you don't necessarily have one team that's in a big rush to make things happen right now. No. You're both kind of happy, but equally, you're not going to want to just give away objectives because you're both feeling reasonably strong. Yeah,
and it's like, I think I'd slightly favor FPX later on, just by the nature of their composition, again, being kind of bruiser-esque and very hard to take down for champions. Like Vex, I feel like Vi will lose a bit of her potency, but at the same time, you are also the composition with more just outright DPS coming out from things like the Jax and the Aphelios. So things like Baron are what like FPX are always have to be scared of.
Chocho could be in trouble on the bottom side. Quickness comes out, the baby cage is there. Chocho is tanky, but he ain't tanky enough, and Betty flashing straight onto LWX. No flash on the Veigar, and there's a double kill for the bottom lane of anyone's legend. Now with the top side, ZDZ in a 2v1, stunned underneath the tower, pulled back in and taken down by Hacker.
The trades come through, but AL managing to find 2 kills and just an outright 2v2. I feel like that is way more impactful. Herald being dropped in mid, so Pinzy and Shao are going to get some gold under their belts. They're going to be able to start making their way around the map and be showing us some power of this Vex roams that we've been hitting on all throughout the game. And I mean, I was just talking about the DPS able to come out from AL's composition. We got to see it there in full force. Sword Art setting up beautifully for Betty to follow up with those kills.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. I'm Sword Art getting one of the kills. He's 2-1-2 on the Rakan now. We can take another look at what happened to start the playoff on the top side. Hacker was actually on a wall.
Yeah, Fearness doing a great job to find the initial knock-up and then follow through, bringing ZDZ out of the fight. And then here with the passive straight at field, I mean, doesn't even really get a chance to move on his way out. So FPX needed to find something when they lost out in both mid and bot. and they at least managed to do so. Gold still pretty close to even, 1K gold lead, just above for anyone's legend. But we need to keep our eyes on this dragon, because if FPX can secure this, this would be Soul Point. No ults for Hacker and Fearness just yet, but those should be up in time.
That baby cage is absolutely huge for LWX. Damage coming down, the aggression onto Sword Art here. It's a good start to the fight for FPX, but can they keep it going? Because the fellows is firing away. 1 for 1 so far, but mid lane are down for anyone's legend. And it looks like FPX won't push the envelope any further.
For FPX, when Care still wasn't even really in the fight, you didn't have Fearness's ult up when he came around on the flank.
Care needs to get out of the dodge there. Loses almost half his HP for the attempt.
I feel like had that fight happened 15 seconds later, FPX would have been able to get a lot more from it with Fearness having that ult up. And I remember, I think it was even like Hacker or Care were still waiting a few seconds on their cooldown to be there, but not going to manage to get so now. The posturing around the Drake and the come online. They bought enough time for both members to come up, but Chocho will be here first.
The bell rings in the distance. Round 2 begins. 4 players for FPX, 4 for anyone's legend, but a 5th now arriving as Chocho enters the fray. Pinzy still over at Raptors right now. ZDZ aggressed upon here. Jao into the pit, but he can't find the smite here. It was Care to take it, as Care's in trouble. Taken down by Pinzy. The resets are here. Can they find any more kills? ZDZ still behind everyone here as Pinzy gets into everyone. 3-man stun from the Counter-Strike, but there's no follow-up from the squad. FPX will survive.
FPX get away on Soul Point. That's all they were looking for. One member goes down. Look at the rest of the map. No Baron. Nothing really in a position where you can take it. You've already taken both mid and bot tier 1s. You're not in a position where you can answer on top side. The wave's not even pushed out there. So at the end of the day, FPX going to be smiling with what they got away with, as we're going to see here. Oh, actually going to go all the way back in time. And again, what the key things are, Cage doing a nice job kind of buying time for this. And look at the TP on the map. Sante coming through. Fearness didn't have his ult in this fight. Yone also isn't here. So had they been able to buy more time, maybe it's a different time, I feel like they really could have won out more. But we're going to see 1 for 1 is all that comes through at the end of the day. Considering that you do have a large amount of that damage there with the Aphelios, and then here, AL just not able to get it. Hell, neither jungle got the smite, right? It was Yone going to pick it up, and then ZDZ wrapping around. They want to follow this up. They feel like they're in a great position to take a fight, but Pinzy not able to get in, doesn't have fear available to bring them down. ZDZ, even with finding the 3-man Counter-Strike, just not having that damage in range to really be able to capitalize.
I feel like Betty is very quietly becoming terrifying, though. Like, he's doing a lot of damage, and there is very little threat onto him in these fights. I feel like every fight we've seen so far, because of the chaos that Pinzy and Sword Art and Xiao have, and then ZDZ behind enemy lines are causing, he's kind of just chilling, just blasted his damage away. He's already on 2 items. Once he picks up an Infinity Edge, that Aphelios is going to be something to be feared.
Yeah, I still feel like FPX have all the tools to be able to lock him down. We just haven't really seen, we haven't seen FPX be the one to look for fights just yet, except the one where, again, a lot of their ults weren't there, Care wasn't even around. So we need to really, especially keep our eyes on next fight, Care and Fearness, and what they're able to get done, because if Betty is left untouched, that is the recipe for success for AL. And now, I wonder how much action we'll have as both junglers. Hacker should be just fine, having Sunfire Cape. But I'm kind of surprised that AL are angling so heavy for this play towards topside. They see no one mid. They know that Fearness is the only one bot, so they should realize the rest of FPX's members are here. But at least creating a pocket where they can rotate from top to mid, from top to mid, and constantly keep up a numbers advantage with the fact that they have this tempo lead.
Pressure onto the top tower now, as Xiaohan moves behind enemy lines. Betty's here as well. Feels like AL, if they could just finish that top tier 1, they'd have so much more space to play around this Baron, but that tier 1 is kind of ruining the day for them. Sword Art does need to be a little careful, but he will back away.
Oh, Betty. Betty Munch. This guy.
Betty Munch.
This guy, Munch.
Donkey!
You know, it was a good time watching that movie.
Yeah. What were you going to say about Betty? Are you going to go like Flash Wolves or?
No, there really was no point there. Hey, anyone who doesn't know out there though, he did used to be a jungler. Was actually Flash Wolves jungle trainee. Was meant to replace Karsa for the day Karsa left. Then Flash Wolves realized, hey, I only have good 80 carries. Swap this kid to 80 carries. So I had no point, but we just transitioned it into one.
I like it. Also, I don't know if anyone knows this. Sword Art used to be on Flash Wolves.
True.
Little known fact.
I think it was 2019 MSI, the one they went to together, and they did actually surprisingly one of the best bot lanes at that tournament, despite the fact that Betty had never really looked like top tier in an international sense, but really doing a great job at that MSI to really take it to everyone in the 2v2 matchup.
Betty was still pretty fresh back then.
Yes, still very new. And then obviously by the time like everyone, all the other like prominent Flash Wolves members started leaving the LMS, so maybe never really getting the chance, but having his chance here in the LPL, where sadly he's sitting at 2-12 right now in the standings. But hey, for AL, it's about summer. And in summer, anything is possible. Summer is known as the split of dreams.
Is that true? I always thought of it as the small jumper split. You know, spring, it's still quite cold, big jumpers. Summer, it gets a bit warmer. You still need a jumper, or your grandmother will tell you off for catching cold, but...
Oh, wait. But Dragon's live, so we don't need to know anything. We just know that a fight is about to break out. Oh, it's a foul!
Big fear, look at everyone diving in, but FPX just won't die. Chocho's still going to the backside, but there we go. The damage comes through in the end. 2 pickups for AL. And I mean, it didn't even look like FPX got to play them.
I mean, it felt like the same thing where FPX kind of just walk up towards AL and just set up AL for the perfect opportunity to find and engage with Sword Art Betty. Betty's just chilling this game. Yeah, I feel like he should have a lot more threats he has to worry about coming out from FPX, but they really aren't putting anything on him. And now for AL, getting their first Drake, I'm surprised they don't try to pivot this into threat onto Baron. I guess Chocho is already up and Fearness will be up quite soon, but still, gonna be happy to walk away with that Drake. But hey, at least we're sitting at a 4K gold lead now.
Yeah, deciding to all reset, get items off the back of that gold lead, and then perhaps set up some pressure towards Baron. Perhaps get your side lanes in order. So everyone just grouped up, stood still.
And it's just like you said, right? When all of them are grouped at, we saw the huge CC coming through, and Betty's Moonlight Vigil went across 3-4 members. Sudden explosion of damage coming on through. And they have so many, I feel like they have so many ways to try to contest control of that river. I believe they even had pressure coming in from bot lane as well that they could have played with, but just small mistakes coming out from FPX, who again in recent series have been doing better. 2 of their 3 series wins are within their last 3 series.
Yeah. And AL actually having some surprisingly good series recently as well, though. They, if my memory doesn't fail,
their last one, I remember they went to
Esports
3 games.
Yeah, they took a game off of LNG. Oh, I know, it's not recent at all.
Yeah, that's
okay, well, they beat RNG in week 7. I'm thinking of someone else.
And
clearly.
the other team they beat was WE, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was, yeah. In like week 4, 5. It's a while ago. So, I was wrong. They have not looked good recently. They look good to me, and that's what matters.
Okay, Gage comes through a lot. Getting expended by Hacker.
Is really tanky. He's practically invincible. Care comes into the play. This is your moment, Lyric, for Care to pop off. Shout out the target. There's a pick. Care looking for more as well, but Sword Art threatening the knockup, forces Care back. FPX now with a chance at Baron potentially. Sword Art on the Rakan, does get pulled in. And Jax is the front line here, but he's just going 1v5 and nearly winning. Fearness forced away from the play. Knock up those ZDs, he counter-strike again, but he will go down.
I mean, he's just so hard to deal with for the members of FPX. But AL really flubbing that one. I believe they threw 3 ults at Hacker, Xiaohao, Pinsy, and Betty's. Now going to try and turn this into a Baron. Have some damage they need to worry about, but they're doing this one pretty quickly.
Infernum is available for Betty. He doesn't have the Moonlight Vigil, but can maybe get big splash damage out. No, he can't. No, he can't. Sword Art's already gone. Betty's just going for it. He wants Care, but he just doesn't have the damage yet. There's a bit of that splash damage we were talking about, but without ultimates, there's nothing they can do.
Gold now even, but Baron on the side of FPX can give them a lot more pushing power. Hopefully at least able to use it to keep Cryo, because look, it overlaps with next Dragon spawn. So that should help you, at the very least, you control waves to make sure you get that. But here, again, I think it's Vialt, Vexalt, and Apheliosalt all committed. 1, 2. Yeah, there's the Aphelios. But still not really able to get anything done. Hacker is just too tanky, buys a lot of space. And then that means on this fight, a lot of those tools that AL been using to take down these clump members just aren't there. So then Care coming in, realizing he has the ability to just run them down. Great knockback onto Sword Art to buy space for Chocho to follow up. But this is where it looked a little bit dicey again. ZDZ buying so much time again. Had something like a Moonlight Vigil been here, this could have been a turnaround for AL.
Sword Art starting to fight in the bottom side as ZDZ is here as well, but Sword Art has stepped way too far forward. Not even being on Rakan can save him now. As FPX, they've got themselves the Baron and they want to snowball it down the bottom lane. They go.
I feel like AL's been playing such a stable game
I know.
so far up until that last throw at Baron, and now only giving away more advantages to the side of FPX when it feels like wait this out, potentially try and angle for a pick onto one member and make sure that Soul doesn't go over. But FPX doing a great job keeping up this push in bot lane. Look at the minimap. Also have a huge wave crashing in top side, so they're just denying a lot of gold from anyone's legend right now.
Yeah, Betty is the last shining bastion, I would say, in this game, where he's on 3 items on that Aphelios. If he can just have an insane fight, maybe still winnable for anyone's legend, but the way that they've been playing these last couple of scraps is not going to cut it.
I will say, though, Betty has both summoner spells up, so Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. That is incredibly good and fortunate for AL, but Pinsy doesn't have his. CDZ no flash, so a lot of things will be restricted to where for FPX, Care and LWX, the two big members you're looking at to dish out damage, also should be in a good place.
Betty just used his Q to make sure he's got 2 fresh weapons for this fight. Green and white is a powerful combo on that Aphelios. Sole point here for FPX if they could get this Drake for themselves. This time, it's a little bit more of a formation on either side. Chocho takes a chunk from ZDZ. Sword Art and ZDZ looking for the blast cone in, and they'll find it. Quickness across the squad. Moonlight Vigil in. This is what anyone's legend needed. Hacker escapes, but he's low, and Care gets into the backline and instantly feared. Look at this, taken apart. Double for Betty, a triple in fact. As fairness will fall to the hammer of ZDZ. And then where was this all game?
The damage is being too much coming out from both the Jax and the Aphelios. I believe it said the Aphelios there doing 7K, double anyone else on his team, which you'd expect. Left untouched, the engage comes through, and now going to be able to take Dragon, going to be able to take down some turrets, and it feels like that's been the big thing plaguing FPX's game. It's always AL the ones on the front foot. It's always AL the ones looking for the engage, which, like you said earlier on, that means Betty is never under any pressure from the side of FunPlus Phoenix. So now they get a Drake, they're getting more turrets broken down, and I don't believe FPX should be able to find anything off the back of this.
Sword Art dropping a cheeky little Tom Kench and Chocho as well. He knows that they're safe. He knows that they're out of there. And honestly, off of that series of 2 plays there that set up for the Baron and then a pick off the back of it, I thought that AL maybe had mental boom, but this play was gorgeous. Yeah,
goes in with the Jax, finds the stun, follows up the quickness into the knockup. And again, it just buys so much space. You can see on the back line, Betty reading this whole time. Care not able to find his way onto Betty, so I believe able to dodge out.
Nice flash.
Yeah, on the engage coming through. And then it's not even getting picked up 1v1. They pretty much just get bursted out once that knockup comes on through. And now sitting at 3 items down for the AD carry. You have ZZ being quite huge. He even ended up buying Azanias to give himself more safety in some of these fights, find an engage, go golden, buy time, and buy space for your team if they do. It's just coming out nice. And look, we're seeing Care in that team fight not really able to deal damage. This composition, to do what it wants, has to be the one engaging, has to be the one taking a fight on their terms. But now 4K gold behind, already losing out so much in terms of pressure, it just doesn't feel like that's possible. I feel like ZDC's doing a great job maintaining pressure in sides, and the rest of AL's 4-man core having range advantage is able to win out in these like extended standoffs over waves. So you don't really have an opening unless you just try to just go for the full send.
We've been seeing as well Hacker starting to give away those jungle camps to Care because they need him to get that 3rd item. They need that 3rd crit item online. For the Yone, looks like he's headed towards a Bloodthirster. And maybe that would be enough, but Betty playing so well.
He's so scared. Look at that. Look at those 4 items. Betty is terrifying.
Like, even if you get closest, K, you might just get 2 shots.
Yeah.
He's got a Severum going at the time. Like, it's over for you.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think it is incredibly tough for FPX. I will say they've at least checked off one thing, which is get his flash. Still does have the cleanse available. And, I mean, we need to see them in a position where they're, like right now, right? You look at the map, they have waves pushed out on top. You would need to find a way where, like, you're sneaking someone in from that lane, coming around, and making sure that you get on top of the FLAOs. But even then, that's... Even if you take him out, we've seen ZDZ's a bit of a raid boss. Like, sure, ZDZ's not putting out the same amount of damage because, you know, it's an untouched Felio, so he's going to put out more DPS. But ZDZ's never even really being taken low. He survives these fights for so long and will do well in an extended skirmish.
I mean, part of that is the fact he's got a Zonyas. Like, he's jumping in, he's using the counter-strike, he's causing a ruck. As soon as they try and get him, turns golden, comes out of the Zonyas, counter-strikes back, and just... an absolute nightmare. And those few seconds of vulnerability, he's doing so much damage anyway during that time that most players on the enemy team can't actually take him on.
No.
It's a terrifying position to be in for FPX, but they've been favoring AL for a little while, and they still managed to lose the previous Baron. They still managed to get caught out, lose out on a play, so definitely can't call it over just yet.
Now AL
gold lead right now.
Gonna look towards Baron, try and once again be the ones to be on the front foot to start a fight, as they might not even need to, because Betty, they're just gonna back off. So being afraid of the threat of the smite steals ZZ.
They might not be able to back up here. Oh, Baby Cage completely denying the flank and the TP coming on through, but now ZDZ has entry if he wants it. Fearlands onto Fearness. Won't be able to be followed up at all. But you know, the reason he's called Fearness is because Fearless was taken, so he just changed the consonant.
Is that really it?
Yeah.
I kind of respect that.
Yeah.
It was a man who knew exactly what he wanted, and, you know, he couldn't get that, but he changed the very little that he needed to.
None of this, like, adding numbers nonsense.
No, which is good.
Just make up a new word.
Yeah, not a big fan of that. But still, going back to the actual game, like ZDZ, that side pressure, making it so Fearness having to dedicate that TP to get into play, so doing a nice job of pulling that one. But for AL, having to commit back down towards the spawn side, because one thing FPX bought themselves is at least the pressure of Soul is always there.
LWX just recalled right before Drake here because Void Staff now online. This is a 4-item Veigar. We've been talking about the Aphelios all game long. If Betty ends up in a Baby Cage, if somehow a stun lands, LWX will completely one-shot someone. It's a big if.
And again, the problem is now the flank threat coming out from ZDZ. Betty's flash, one thing we highlighted from last fight that had been taken down, is now back up again. And FPX just don't seem like they're going to be in position to try to find their way on the backline. They're sticking as a 5-man core and trying to brute force in a front-to-back team fight.
True. Takes a bit of a tap from Betty there. Baby Cage down, but nobody caught by it. As now we kick off Care straight onto the backside here, but Jojo down before he can do anything. Pins escapes with his life. Betty is 2v1 on the top side of the fight and just railing Hacker. Another couple of kills come across. Sword Art alone on the backside, but reinforcements are on their way. Knockups galore as Sword Art even has a stopwatch. He gets out with his life. Care can't do squat about it, and he has to snap back into the loving arms of Betty. LWX now in a 2v1. Drops the Baby Cage, and he will walk away, but no chance of getting a kill.
No, and now for anyone's Legend, you're going to be able to go on Soul Point themselves. Third Ocean Drake in a row for them, and only getting further and further ahead with every team fight that they find. And for FPX, I mean, we're going to see it in the replay. Everything thrown at Pin Z. Still, once again, not really able to reach into the meaningful carries. They wanted to try to all in on ZDZ. He manages to escape, and then the engage here, coming onto the Vex, wanting to burst him out. Chocho goes down first, even before this damage comes out. And look at Betty, once again, left untouched, has to cleanse, but doing a great job of diverting space, buying time. And I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see Hacker and LWX go more heavily onto him, considering he was pretty much just left on his lonesome. And then, I mean, once we get to this point, sure.
Oh, what a flash from Betty.
I mean, we see them find one more kill, but, I mean, the fight has already been decided at this point.
Yeah. But it looked good. did look good, you have to admit that. And to be fair, you get knocked up there, you're just dead. Like, Care will one-shot Betty if he does ever get that opportunity. But he's never had that opportunity. And we saw that, oh my days, 11,000
I don't even know if he one-shots him. You know, I think he knocks him up long enough to do a bit of damage, but when you have the Bloodthirster, he even has GA at this point.
That's true. That's true.
Huge shield online.
Oh, an attempt from Hacker, but doesn't find the smite. ZDZ in the meantime in a 1v4, but the Zhonya's comes in clutch straight between the goalposts from PinZ, but the rest of the reinforcements are here. See you later, Infernum Online. A quadra kill, and surely they give it ZDZ, man. Come on.
ZDC wants to know he's been doing work too, not giving it over to Betty. And overall, from AL, we've been highlighting Betty's damage, but Xiaohao and Sword Art being the ones to set up a lot of these engages, Xiaohao especially being the first one in, but then Sword Art finding the multi-man knockups, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, with friends like these, who needs enemies lyric? That's all I'm saying. Betty with the quadra kill should have had the penta. But at the end of the day, it's a double kill score, 24-12. As anyone's legend, I would say looking comfortably the better team.
Yeah, it just, FPX never able to get things going. And then once they felt a little bit of pressure, it seemed like they never really knew how to sort of get in a position where they can try and find what they wanted.